Well, we just have so much news after the long holiday weekend, and we have to start with arguably the biggest news in the world. Tulsi Gabbard has left the Democratic Party, and she's done it with a pretty conspiracy and lie-laden video. Now, this is actually not very big news. I'm sort of kind of kidding around. It's tongue in cheek. Tulsi Gabbard is an individual who used to be a congresswoman representing the state of Hawaii, and she ran for president and got, like one kind of like a 2% support. And then she, although it was obvious to some of us that she was clearly a sort of populist rhetoric, reactionary contrarian of no real substance, adding no real value to the conversation. Not everybody understood that. Even some of my fellow leftists kind of fell for it. And she's been more and more outwardly moving to the right, speaking at CPAC, the extreme right-wing convention, being selected to fill in as host for Fox News propagandist Tucker Carlson. And listen, this is the final step in her public transformation. It's really not that much of a transformation. So here is the video, 80 seconds, in which Tulsi announces her principled and defiant abandonment of the Republican Party. Listen closely, because there's a lot of nonsense in here.
I can no longer remain in today's Democratic Party that's under the complete control of an elitist cabal of warmongers.
Now, elitist cabal, that is very carefully chosen language to appeal to the reactionary, conservative, MAGA, big lie, JFK Jr. is currently the vice president type of people. Elitist cabal is QAnon language. Do not think that the choice of that language is an accident. Now, I'm not saying Tulsi is necessarily a QAnon person. I'm not saying that. But that's language that is finely tuned and tested to press the buttons in the brains of very particular people. It's not an accident, okay? And by the way, warmongers. Remember, Hillary was going to get us into 5 wars. Biden was going to get us into 5 wars. None of it has happened. Okay. None of it has happened, but they love to say it. These are MAGA right-wing conspiracy talking points.
Who are driven by cowardly wokeness, who divide.
Remember the wokeness. What they think of as wokeness is the tiniest sliver of the left. It's not me. It's not really my audience. It's not the Democratic Party. It's not, it's same old stuff.
Us by racializing every issue.
Okay. The criticism that the left racializes everything is a way to disqualify a priori any discussion of racism or racial inequality. That you go, they racialize everything. Hard right move. She's gone fully in.
And stoking anti-white racism.
And that's the other side. The left is anti-white and racist against whites. The left is mostly white, guys. That's the reality.
Who actively work to undermine our God-given freedoms that are enshrined in our Constitution, who are hostile to people of faith and spirituality.
And again, it's not hostility to people of faith or spirituality. It's hostility to imposing that faith or spirituality on civil government. It's about openly, as Marjorie Taylor Greene and Boebert and all of them have said, saying we are Christian nationalists and that should be enshrined in civil law. That's wrong. That's not constitutional.
Who demonize the police but protect criminals at the expense of law-abiding Americans.
And remember, the number of people saying defund the police, it's almost zero, and the movement has no power. Reform? Absolutely. The 10 to 12 point plan I outlined, of course. But this is, again, their new talking point. But remember, when they didn't like what happened on January 6th, they went after the Capitol Police. When they didn't like what happened with Donald Trump at Mar-a-Lago, they go after the FBI. They're not the pro-police, pro-law enforcement people they even claim to be.
Who believe in open borders, who weaponize the national security state to go after their political opponents.
That's a Trump line. This is a full MAGA person now.
And above all, who are dragging us ever closer to nuclear war.
Isn't the guy threatening the nuclear war Putin the one who's actually doing that?
Now, I believe in a government that's of the people, by the people, and for the people.
Oh.
Unfortunately, today's Democratic Party does not.
Oh.
Instead, it stands for a government that is of, by, and for the powerful elite. Now, I'm calling on my fellow common sense, independent-minded Democrats to join me in leaving the Democratic Party.
All right. So then she says, leave the party with me. So she uses all the buzzwords that will make the right love her even more. She really hasn't been a Democrat for as long as I can remember. She's essentially a reactionary who puts her finger to the wind and says, you know, I didn't get any real attention from the left other than the small cult of personality I managed to kind of coalesce around me because I don't really bring anything to the table. So let's go to the place where you don't need to bring anything substantive to the table. I can just use buzzwords and talking points and talk about an elitist cabal and get attention. That's the conspiracy right. That's the MAGA right. Hillary was right again, guys. She is once again doing the bidding of the Russians. Again, not a Russian asset, not a Russian agent. This is the type of democracy destabilizing language that the Russians and the Chinese and everybody loves. Now, again, you can say, well, but listen, good for them then. Doesn't mean, fine. I'm just saying the idea that she is fundamentally acting in the best interest of the United States, as she claims, is obviously not true. She's becoming a great tool of these authoritarian right-wing regimes that love to frame the United States as being unstable democratically. And quite frankly, we are to some degree, but it's thanks to people like this, not that they're pointing it out. They're causing that. Oh, Trump really won, all this different stuff. So here come the book deals. Here come the speaking engagements. If you follow the sort of money trail, it leads to the same type of people. They monetize being anti-woke. They monetize all the stuff that Tulsi is talking about here. The saddest thing about the entire Tulsi episode, and it is very sad, is the number of fellow leftists who were bamboozled by Tulsi. I'm glad I never fell for it. Go back to my clip in January of 2019. Watch the video I do about her. Watch it, and you will see how obvious it was to me at the time what she was up to. Sadly, many of my colleagues fell for it, but you can redeem yourself. Now it's becoming very clear, even to many of them. And I've gotten so many emails from people in the audience saying, David, I totally fell for it. You were right. I fell for it. I think this is the final loop. We can close the envelope and mail it in. When you're busy during the day and you need a quick snack, sometimes you're just in the mood for something sweet. That's when I reach for Munk Pack. Our sponsor, Munk Pack, offers gooey granola bars that melt in your mouth, as well as nut and seed bars that are perfectly crunchy, sweet, and salty. But the best part is that each bar is plant-based with only 1 gram of sugar, 2 to 3 net carbs, and only about 150 calories. It's great if you're doing keto or low carb, or like me, you just want to minimize your sugar intake. I can't get enough of dark chocolate cocoa. I'm just a chocolate guy. It's great. But they come in other flavors too, like sea salt, dark chocolate, caramel sea salt. They just launched peanut butter cocoa chip and dark chocolate cocoa. If you don't love Munk Pack as much as our entire team does, Munk Pack will give you your money back. Go try Munk Pack keto granola bars and nut and seed bars. Go to monkpack.com and use the code PACMAN for 20% off. The link is down below.